Dr. Derek Price, first person on our um, first person on our More Than the Scoreboard series podcast. And I wanted to bring Derek on first because quite honestly, if it wasn't for you, Derek, I wouldn't be sitting here after I got out of coaching. You gave me an opportunity to get involved with Club Faction and the 4XF, and you've kind of given me the autonomy to roll with the team building military style crucible event that we're doing, as well as the scoreboard, which is a character development a program that we offer most athletic programs across the country. So welcome, brother.
Thanks, man. Like it's super weird looking at you, looking at me, looking at me. Like
Right?
with your background. I'm like,
Like that?
dude looks just like this dude, except that dude had better hair dye in his beard on photo day.
Right. Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing, we sit here, just a little bit of background about Derek. Derek and I played together at Iowa. He's originally from Tempe, Arizona, played at Marcos Deniza High School. He was a tight end. He started off as a wide receiver, but was so skinny he had to go to Mesa Community College, gain weight. He was a junior college All-American. Went to the University of Iowa as a tight end. We were roommates at the University of Iowa, so the stories that we could tell are endless. And I don't
There was
think
no cell phones back then.
no
Different world,
cell phones.
different times. But there was also no NIL money. So, like
That
whatever.
would have changed things. I don't know how much I
Bro,
would have gotten, but you would have gotten quite a
we
bit.
do you remember like we were buying dented cans of food and tuna at Aldi. I could get 10 cans of tuna for $1 and like last week's bread for $1. And then with the money we got from the school to live off campus, we lived in Section 8 housing, like 10 dudes to a house. It was
It was crazy. We'd go to training table on Sunday nights, and we would literally, I don't know if you remember, we'd come back with about 100 Snapples
like
because
start stuffing steaks in our pockets and Snapples and everything.
you know what's funny? When I was at SC, um, our scholarship checks for living
Yeah.
off campus were like $1,200, and that was 91, 92. And then I go to Iowa, and our off-campus checks in 93, 94, 95 were like $350.
$346. I found one of the old pay stubs about a
Was
year ago.
it?
It's
Yeah.
just like, holy crap. Like,
I think my rent was like $160,
yeah, dude, we used to, yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy. That's funny.
And that's when your grandma gave you the
Prepaid
pass
phone
card.
card.
Yeah, prepaid
Yeah.
phone card. That's what it was.
She's like, don't use it all at once. I was like, finally, somebody's helping me out because my family broke. And there she was like, good luck with this. And I was like, is this a card so I can call? She's like, yeah, but just us. I was like,
Yeah, that
that's not
was
gonna help me
crazy.
eat, but I appreciate it.
Yeah. So Derek, after Iowa, he went, got picked up by the Detroit Lions, played for a year, broke his neck, and that kind of led him into his next venture. Went to Life University to get his chiropractic degree. So he became a chiropractor, moved back to Arizona, opened up quite a few chiropractic clinics. Ended up selling them all because they were so successful, and he moved on to a lot of different things. He's been
Yeah.
um, CEO of multiple healthcare companies, organizations, hospitals. A couple of those hospitals helping veterans and NFL players that were suffering from addiction and PTSD and all that kind of stuff. Owned a couple CrossFit gyms. Derek's always been involved in sports and athletics. This guy, he's done, I don't know how many triathlons, how many Ironmans have you done now?
50, give or take.
50.
Yeah.
I know he's swam. There's a swim, Alcatraz swim. I think it's 2 miles, right? And you swim from
Yeah.
Alcatraz to
Yeah.
the main shore. You've done that multiple times. Swam the English Channel. He's highly involved in the special forces community, training people and working with civilians and stuff like that. He even, I think, when you turned 40, you went to over to San Diego. They have a Hell Week for
Yeah.
civilians, and at 40, he was the
Uh,
civilian of the week or whatever you want to call it.
don't,
So,
unrecommended to all people. So that program is called SEAL Fit. It's actually a great program. A guy named Commander Devine runs that out of San Diego's former SEAL. It's all run by SEALs, and yeah, it's like a Hell Week sim for 3 days. And I went into that thinking like, oh, this is gonna be Navy SEAL like fun camp. Like we're gonna like jump out of helicopters and shoot guns, and it was just I was just in the ocean and cold. and starved and yelled at and carrying logs up hills for 3 days, like, and
Yeah.
didn't like. So I was like, that was not very fun.
So he quit everything and started up Club Faction in the
Hmm.
4XF program. And so brought him on because there's a lot of crossover between, the business world as well as the athletic profession, whether it's coaching or, you're dealing with leaders, you're dealing with culture, you're dealing with development, that kind of stuff. So tell us a little bit about Club Faction and the 4XF and what we're doing with it.
Absolutely, man. I think it all starts, and I think what's important and like to level set is that there's no shortage of like people out there giving advice. There's no shortage of books and podcasts and stories. You go on Instagram and like heaven forbid you look up like life or business coach because then you're just inundated and it's just so noisy. There's no shortage of a million people screaming like, "Listen to me, I know the secret." And I don't know that I know any secrets, but what kind of came to me one day was like I got pretty good at the sports thing. So that kind of was like, hey, I know how to train and dedicate to a singular cause. And I've accomplished a lot of very hard things, endurance races, pro sports, whatever. Still train and teach jujitsu, like just all that stuff. And then I looked at like the the coaching side and said, like, my life has really been crafted by coaching. Remember, like my path out of high school was we had no money to send me to college, so I had to figure out how to get it paid for. And I had some coaches that were like, dude, you got to work really, really hard and we'll try and get you a scholarship. Well, I had 4 catches my senior year as a receiver. So it doesn't lead to a lot of
Uh,
like, dude, he's a 5-star talent. Like, no, man, I was like a lucky to be there guy. But I got picked up by like a junior college, made the most of it, worked my ass off, got a scholarship after my first year, denied it, came back my second year, and the world opened up to me when I became like blue chip All American and then all that kind of stuff. I went to Iowa, and then as you know, Corby, like football at Iowa was great, but I graduated, and when it was over, I was like, I'm out. Like the game's over for me. And Chuck Long, another coach, called me and said, "Hey, you gotta give it a shot." And like, I got some pros coming in for pro day. I want you to come back to Iowa. Like, just do it, do it, do it. Just run, or you might regret it later in life.
I still remember you called me and
Yeah,
because I was coaching at the time, and you're like, dude, I don't want to play in the NFL, but Chuck Long keeps calling me, telling me to come out. And you were in Arizona. He's like, I don't, and I remember saying to you, I'm like, dude, because the summer before we worked for your cousin Matt,
yeah, yeah,
tearing up floors at Circle K's, and I remember saying, dude, what are you going to go do? Work for Matt for the rest of your life? Go check it out. I mean, doesn't
yeah.
hurt.
Didn't
But
hurt.
Chuck's really the one that convinced you to.
Yeah. Well, Chuck was just like, "Hey, man, like." I'm telling you now, like you'll just look back and regret that you didn't do it. And if you do and it doesn't work out, like you're where you are now, but with no regrets. And I was like, I don't really have anything. There's no like massive job opportunity like sitting in front of me. So um, I said, all right, man, I'm gonna pack my stuff up and go back to Iowa and pay the $150 a month for rent and move back in and give it a shot for a couple months. And it worked out. Detroit picked me up on draft day. Had a couple opportunities to go to other teams and kind of a lucky to be there, right place, right time. I was on the field during preseason, made a couple of plays that turned some heads. Again, I think it was like whoever was in on that play would have made the same plays I did. And dude, come final cut day, I was like, you got to find me to cut me. So I got up at like 4 in the morning and just bounced and went to downtown Detroit. And I was like, good luck finding me. Thinking like, in my mind, I was like, if it comes down to two dudes and it's like whoever they see first, they cut. I was like, they can't find me.
Right.
So not a realistic strategy, but
And you were playing with Barry Sanders and
yeah,
uh,
Herman
Johnny
Moore,
Johnny Morton, who I
J
played
Mo,
at SC.
J Mo. Funny story about J Mo. Like, J Mo from
Oh,
SC.
yeah.
So yeah, J Mo before every game would be like, Derek, I need you to wear my pants because I want them to stretch out a little bit so I can run faster. So like in pregame, I would literally wear these tiny ass like JMO football pants. And then after they were like sweated in and stretched, I'm like, here's your
Yeah.
pants back. And he's like, perfect. And I'm like, that dude was manicuring eyebrows before
Well,
manicuring eyebrows.
hey,
Cool.
we sat next to each other in the locker room at SC, like, day
Yeah.
after day. And he's I love J Mo, man.
Yeah,
I have a story. I don't even know if it's appropriate, but I'll tell it anyway. I was sitting in my locker and I was just cleaning some stuff up, and it was after practice. I had already showered, and I looked to my right and everybody's laughing. And I'm like,
yeah.
what the hell are they laughing at? And I looked to my left and J Mo's standing right here.
Yeah.
And he had these underwear on that had a trunk. It was an elephant face with a trunk. And it was like right in my face. And I was like, but that's the kind of stuff J-Mo,
That's
he's
him,
so
bro.
funny. He'd probably kill me if he saw this.
Yeah, so I do I end up going back like the day after cuts and sneak into the locker room and notice that my stuff's still in my locker. So like very coyly, I put my gear on and walked out to the field and I was like, nobody's yelling I shouldn't be here. And like a day or two went by and nobody kicked me out. So I was like, I guess there was like there's no like celebration, like, hey man, we want to let you know like you made the team. Like, I guess I just didn't get cut. So like for the first like week or so, we're like getting ready to go play Minnesota, and I was like I'm on special teams. Nobody said anything, so let's figure it out. And lo and behold, like I got lucky. The guys in front of me got hurt. I got a lot of playing time. I think out of 16 games, I think I was on the field for all of them.
Yeah.
So played tight end quite a bit, had a couple catches, whatever, and then broke my neck on a kickoff. Like, and so I'm glad to see the change in the kickoff rule. But that propelled me into getting surgery. Then the doctor was like, you should have went to a chiropractor. And I was like, what is that? And then that turned into me going immediately after retiring from the NFL with the broken neck, which you can still see the scar here from surgery. Became a chiropractor, ran that for a long time, built a bunch of clinics. And this is kind of where like the Forex stuff kind of comes from, right? So like it's my life story of what helped me. And it's just a constant like drawback to coaches. Like your dad was a great mentor of mine. He was a great mentor, like thousands of people. And just like constantly looking at people who could give me advice that I could actualize and use to make, bring my own stock up. And so as I built my clinics, like Dr. Jeff Klaus, like gave me a chance and I worked for him. And then he showed me like how to build these things. And I did. And I ended up building it all the way through orthopedic surgery, pain management, family practice, and everything. And then ultimately, and I was doing all the sports stuff and Ironmans and triathlons and SEAL Fit and all this stuff during. And I constantly missed that team element, that locker room feel of like having like a brotherhood, so to speak. And so I continue to go on. And then I say, hey, I'm done with medicine. I'm gonna go into consulting and coaching because I want to get back to like I really enjoy the build process. And if it's not my build process, it's somebody else's. Like I really enjoy that. And that's when my first client was like, hey, we're a publicly traded huge hospital chain, and we were going to use you as a consultant because you really build good teams. You have a great reputation, but like, can you just be our CEO? And I was like, well, I haven't done that yet. So check. And then 5 more years go by. And I finally exited that, realizing this just isn't how my story ends being a hospital CEO, which is really cool. It's really great. And if you don't make a mistake, you have the job forever. But what I really wanted to do and what I am doing now is working with established business leaders, right? So where does Forex come from? So there's a couple different divisions of it, and it's all about using talent to partner with other talent to make the world better.
Right.
So from my side, what I focus on a lot is businesses. I like to work with business owner operators that are like, hey, Derek, I built this business and I got to this certain level and it's kind of stalled out. It's not failing, but it's here. And the reality is because if you're a business owner and a leader, like you're already a professional.
Right.
Like a professional NFL coach, your job is just win games and you have a team that satisfies everything behind you. But as an owner operator, an entrepreneur, you got to wear all the hats.
Right.
And you get to a certain level that you're like, I can't make the lift by myself, grow the business, train my staff. So you're constantly like, I wish there was two of me. And you get frustrated and like, why are these people not doing their jobs? And so what I do there is I go, hey man, as your teammate, let me be your strength and conditioning coach. Let me elevate the baseline of your team. Let me bring your team up through training, not through words, but through training so that they match you. And then you can grow again and then we'll bring them up and so on and so forth. And on the sports side, for about the last 15 years, I've been running these team building crucible events with a bunch of former SEALs, Green Berets, Delta guys, FBI guys, like all kinds of guys. The funny thing between those groups and pro athletes and college athletes, Corby, it's all the same person.
Right.
Some guys played college, some guys played pro, some guys went to the SEALs, but like in the dinner setting, like all the conversations are the same.
Yeah.
You know,
You and
same.
we've rebranded
Mhm.
that idea and what you guys were doing. So now it's called the tour. Really focused on high school and colleges. But you guys, I mean, you went to Bishop Gorman, you went to St. John Bosco. I know you went to South Alabama. You guys' repertoire of who you've worked
Done.
with
We
that.
worked with Nike. We've been at Green Bay. Like, yeah, we've been to US. We're in Canada for their Olympic rugby team for a week. Like, we've done it a lot. We've done it a lot. Probably like, I don't know if I say 100 of these camps, we've done about 100 of them. And I'll tell you something, man. Like, there's a fear and trepidation when a coach first hears that somebody else wants to train their kids because it's your kids. And there's usually an administration that's like, don't let your kids get hurt and they're going to get rhabdo if they do this kind of training and blah, 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 blah. And dude, they're absolutely right. Like unqualified people cause bad results.
Right.
But bring in pros and bring in like, I'm a physician. My team are professionals. Like the last thing we want to do is break down physically any of the teammates because their job is to then get back to the coach, get on the field, win a championship, right? So it would be completely averse to what we're trying to accomplish. And what we do, Corby, we use the physical in these crucibles to flush out the mental and to increase the bond as rapidly as possible amongst the players to give them a story and a memory that other teams don't have that set them aside, set them apart in perception, like we did this, they didn't do this, and that helps.
Right.
And then from the coach's point of view, coaches, I'll ask you, when was the last time that you sat in the bleachers and took notes and observed your team
Right.
without you giving them advice and without them playing for you? Like, when did you scout your team to see, like, is that sophomore quarterback ready to lead? I don't know. Let's put him in a position. Is my senior running back that's all world, but like I hear there's some strife. Let's see what happens when he's under stress. So we create a lot of like mental stress, a lot of mental games, a lot of pulling different leaders forward, making really big leaders remain silent. We just move everything around and let the coaches observe for themselves. But ultimately what we do is we fragment and then by the end we bring them all
Yeah.
back and we
Yeah.
galvanize and then they're like, we are one and we love each other. And
I,
um,
I think it's,
been great.
when I was coaching and specifically when I was a head coach, one program, I was the strength and conditioning coach for the first 2 years. And much like being the head coach and being the offensive coordinator, like kids start to see you in different roles and don't know how to look at you. Is he the offense coordinator? Is he the
All right.
strength coach? Is he the head coach? And at the one program, I finally brought in this woman that was amazing. And then when I went to the second program where I was the head coach, we had a strength and conditioning coach, nationally recognized. He was very, very good. His name's Ben Brandow. Um, and that was my class too. But I didn't stay in there. I was in the backdrop. I was in the background. I would sit and watch because those kids didn't need me in there telling them and running the program. And so what we're talking about with the tour is exactly that. Having allowing the coaches, the head coach and other coaches to sit back, take mental pictures, watch. It's like watching huddle where you're not involved in it and see how they react to other people because much like parenting, I can tell my kids, I got a son that's a Navy diver and started out in buds, and I sent him to you. I'm like, dude, you handle it because he's not going to listen to anything I say. So we're talking, the same language, and it's important for coaches to be able to step back and just observe and take notes.
It's interesting that you brought it up that way, Core, because I think that hits the nail on the head is like coaches, if anybody watches this, like what we're talking about is what's your team's culture? And you're immediately going to pop out the words that you decided preseason, integrity, honesty, like brotherhood and all that. That's cool. But culture is not what you tell me you're going to do. It's not the words I see on the back of the t-shirts that you sell to raise money. Culture is what I observe or what anybody observe when you, the head coach, are not around.
Right.
Culture of a classroom is what does it look like when a substitute shows up? It's like integrity, right? Like doing what you said you're going to do when nobody's watching. So what we do, what the coaches get an opportunity to see is what's the culture when they're not in the room? They're up in the stands. And then we talk about, we all know that we want to create an active culture. But here's a funny thing too. And so when I relate this, especially to like high school football coaches, whatever, it makes sense to them, is I say, listen, man, like I said at the beginning, there's no shortage of words, and there's great orators that are going to talk about integrity and honor and pride, and they're going to do it much better than I am, right? And if you're like, yes, our team is founded on that, I'm going to say, okay, if your team heard stories about lifting weights and running, and if they read books about getting in shape, but they didn't actually do any work, and if they just listened to speeches, rah-rah speeches about, getting stronger in the weight room, how much stronger do they get? And the coaches are like, well, they got to go to the weight room. And I say, cool. So show me your action training plan for like your offensive mindset, for
Right.
your pride, for your integrity. Like what are your guys doing to train integrity? And that's where they usually pause and they're like, we talk about it and we live by example. I'm like, super cool. Like I could watch a runner, doesn't make me a better one.
Right.
You have to
And
do things.
and that's where the idea
That's the whole thing.
behind the scoreboard, which is our character development, we have 39 traits. You have your own platform, and you pick three or four traits that you assign to your athletes, and then they work that either 12 or 16-week sessions, and
Mhm.
they're doing actionable items for each character trait in order to build strengthen that character trait, just like being in the weight room. You don't go out to practice without a practice plan,
Right.
and it's the same thing. And I think there's some coaches, it's 80-20 rule, right? The 20% of the coaches out there, no matter, well, high school and specifically, 20% of the coaches are doing this, right? They're actively doing things to build on the culture. Where 80% kind of do it sometimes, don't really have a plan, don't know what direction, they know what they want to do, but how do I implement it? And so that's exactly what the training plan is key for anything a coach is going to do.
Yeah. I mean, culture creates champions. And what do I mean by that? Like, well, let me break that down. When a head coach is like, we dress up when we get on the bus. We're not on cell phones. We sit in the front of the classrooms. Our GPA is this. We're donating services here. You start to create a culture. We don't cuss. We don't wear hats. Whatever it is, right? This is what we do. This is the culture, and that culture ends up with people buying in and trusting, not just on the student side, but on the parent side and on the administration side, right? And those results in winning more games because you're attracting better quality people. You're
Right.
keeping people longer, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, just like hell, watch a Pro Bowl. Like you're gonna watch the Pro Bowl, you have the best athletes on planet Earth, and it looks like garbage
Right.
because they have no connectivity. Then you see a team that has like no real massive, they don't have to have like five-star athletes, but they're just in sync and they just crush. And that's because that coach created a culture. Like coaches, if you want to keep your jobs, wins and losses are number two, or number one. Culture's number two. And maybe you might even be able to flip
Right.
that.
Well, I always felt like you build the culture the right way, the wins are
Mhm.
going to come, the championships are going to come. I mean, so many coaches, Jason Mons is a coach at Arizona State University who was at Saguaro High School in Scottsdale, Arizona for a long time. And I used to talk to him all the time and he would be like, Corb, we don't, we set out, that's our main goal is to win a state championship, but we build our culture every single day with what we do and what we're implementing. And
Mhm.
90% of the time, that culture takes care of the winning, which in essence takes care of the championships.
Yeah.
So that's what you're doing. I mean, that's what I'm doing from the athletic side, but that's what you're doing from the business side as well, right?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
mean,
So it starts with assessment, right, Corb? Like if I were to sit down, like I'll hop into the high school side since that's the podcast we're talking about is I'd sit down with a coach and be like, Coach, what's important to you? Like, what are your values? What are your ethics? What are your ethos? What are your, what words are matter to you and what by what definition? And then I would create a training plan and give it to his kids and say, okay, integrity. I want you to make your bed every morning, no matter where you're at, where you sleep, what time it is, how tired you are, whatever, because you're going to do what you said you're going to do when you didn't want to do it. And making our bed when we're tired is something we don't want to do,
right.
but it starts there. And that type of lifestyle commits itself and changes and transforms a young kid into like an honorable man. And now that you got coaches, they're like, I can trust this guy because integrity is something that he literally looks at and trains every day. And when it comes to coaches, and I've heard my whole life, I may have a better athlete over here, but I can trust this kid on the field.
Absolutely.
I'm putting the kid I can trust in, right?
100%.
So that I think that's part of it. And I think the next evolution of the game isn't just speed and jumping and like listen, everybody's in shape. Everybody's got a private coach. Everybody benches 1,000,000 pounds. Everybody runs 4 5s. Cool.
Right.
So what's the next advantage? Well, let's go upstairs, but let's train it. Let's get past words. Let's get into actionable training that we can measure, train, and then reassess.
Well, and that was the thing that my oldest son, who had a very, very successful career at Weber State as a safety. I mean, he played in 57 games at that school, second most all time. A lot of accolades in the Big Sky as well as All American. But here he is, a 5'11". Probably, Laser was probably a low 4'6" kid. Playing in the secondary. And at Weber State, they had a bunch of these athletes, man. They were getting them from the Bay, and these kids were just phenomenal. And his freshman year, he ends up starting, about the fourth or fifth game. And we used to always talk. I'm like, dude, you meet with your coaches, you watch film, as much film as you can. He would meet with the head coach, Jay Hill, um, 3, 4 times a week at 5:30 in the morning. And he was the only one that was doing it. That is what propelled him to get
Yep.
on the field because he
100%.
was able to play so much faster because he knew exactly what the offense was doing because he watched so much film. Um, and I think there's a lot of kids, like you're saying, nowadays they have to take that step from the physical to the mental. And that's something I know that I tried to emphasize with our coaches as well as our position players is, you guys need to watch more film. And kids nowadays, there's social media, there's, Xbox or this or that. And when they have downtime, they don't want to watch film. And then, parents would come in and be like, hey, why isn't my son being recruited? This, that, why isn't he playing more? It's like, well, let me pull up Huddle. Here's how much film he's watched in the last 2 days. Here's how much film he's watched in the last week.
Reality check.
And they
Boom.
would be like, well, I know he's watching Huddle. I know he's watching film. Well, it's showing me right here.
He's telling you that, and he's playing Call of Duty. You're
Right.
being lied to.
All right, let me ask you this kind of our last thing here. You said ethos. You used that word ethos. I know before I joined, your group and became a part of this when we launched it, I wasn't sure when you used that term the first time, ethos, I wasn't like I had to look it up. Right?
Mhm.
So tell me the idea behind an ethos and why you feel like it's so imperative that athletic programs, regardless of sport, regardless of gender, have an ethos for their program, or even an athletic director for that matter.
It's your foundation, right? So an ethos sets and establishes your foundation. It's your fingerprint. It's your signature. Is you as a head coach, you as an AD, you as a program director. Like we all do it different. Listen, if there was one way to run a football program, we would all run the same offense and defense. If it's just like there's one way to get stronger in the weight room, we would all do the same sets and reps. But the reality is there's a million ways to be successful. So ethos is taking your values, your visions, your missions, and rolling it all up and basically saying, like, this is who I am. Like this is my tangible. It's intangible when it's words, but I'm going to express it and it's going to manifest in visually observable scenarios, which means Corby, if our ethos is honor and integrity and hospitality and whatever, then I should count for if I had cameras in the gym and somebody came to the door, my teammates would go open the door for them. And they'd go out and help carry boxes in. And not because the coach is talking to them about it, but because that's the culture that was built off of the ethos, right? The ethos is like your set of plans. This is my foundation. This is how we're going to do this. This is the words. This is what's important. And the sad thing, and it's just because a lot of people just don't know, and that's totally fine. That's what I'm bringing to light. Is it's great to have plans and it's great to have words and it's great to articulate during meetings. Like these words are important and I want to see this and see this and see this. But until you say like, here's the training plan for it, it doesn't move the needle. Like imagine having a conversation with your team and like, I want you all to get stronger. Have a great day. And you're like, weird, nobody got any stronger. We talked about it all day. Okay, how about this? You're in the weight room 5 days a week. Monday's bench. It's 5 sets of 10. Three. Da, 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 da. Okay, copy. I'm gonna follow that. Weird. They got stronger. Ethos is the foundation that you write down. Culture is what it looks like when it grows and manifests. And the way that you grow it is by action, not by words. And that's what we change and bring to the table.
I got you. So just an ethos would be like a very developed, descriptive, longer than a mission statement, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you know, us as football coaches, we're not like extremely super smart. I mean, some guys have PhDs, but
Well, you are, but you just don't know. Like Corby, you're a D1 coach. When you went and recruited on the road, parents were like, "Well, Corby, what are you guys about?"
absolutely.
Okay, that's dad
Absolutely.
wants to know what you're about. My kid can play anywhere. What are you guys about? How are you going to develop my human being that I'm putting into your care? Like, I don't give a shit if he scores a touchdown. I hope he gets on the field.
Right.
But how are you going to give me a better human being than I've developed so far?
And
Well,
that was
coach,
every
here's our
home.
ethos. Here's the culture. Here's what's important to us. We're going to make sure he gets to class and he treats people with respect and da, 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 da. Cool. Can you imagine saying, and here's the plan we have, not for just the physical training, which is totally understood. Everybody knows that. But do you know that we train the culture here, coach or parent? Do you know that we actually train that? What are you talking about? I've never heard of that. Yeah, we take integrity, honesty, loyalty, and trust, and we have a group of former athletes, NFL athletes, Navy SEALs, doctors, lawyers. They create these action plans that our kids actually follow. And we track it and we monitor it. And I can tell you, if you want to know why your kid's offline, I'll show you his training plan for
Right.
integrity.
Right.
You want to know why he's not playing on the field? I'll show you what he's not doing.
Last thing before we go, before we shut this first episode down, which has been great, and I really appreciate it, Derek.
Yeah, man, we broke the mold. Like, good luck to visitor number two. They're going to
Yeah,
just be.
right. Well, no, that's good.
No, I know who you got coming up. I seen
Yeah,
Ricky, I seen Mo, I seen your
yeah.
laundry list of people.
We
Like, you're
got,
pulling celebrities, so I'm glad I went first.
yeah,
Let
we
the
got, we
real
got big,
players come in.
we got Big Tuck coming on next.
Yeah, Mark Tucker coming. Good
Yeah,
luck, dude. You got
I
some
will.
ballers.
I think one of the things, and Coach Baniszewski out of Arizona, Hamilton High School, McClintock High School, he was kind of one of my mentors, and we had a discussion after we got our butts beat one time really bad, and I called him and I said, hey, and I brought up the 80-20 rule. 80% of guys are here, 20% are here. And he said, Corby's like, I think it's more of a 60-20-20 split. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes, 20% of your athletes are not bought in and on at all. They're never going to buy in. They just want to put on the jersey, say that they're a part of the team. Then you got 20% of the guys that are in it for everything, show up to everything. Everything's about winning and getting better and improving and all that kind of stuff. And then 60% of your team is on the fence. They don't know which way to go. They can go either way. They can swing with the tides. Okay. Depending
It's
on how,
true, man.
who they're influenced by. So my question for you regarding that is this. If you could if you could leave one piece of advice for coaches in regards to how do I get my athletes, my school, my team, my athletic director, whoever it may be, but mainly the athletes, how do I get them to buy in? What would the biggest piece of advice you have for them be?
3 steps. Number one, I would have a team meeting. And I did this like when I ran hospitals and I had, I've had thousands of employees work for me. When it's my idea, it carries a certain amount of weight. When it's our idea, it carries more weight. So I would do the team meeting and I would sit down and say, hey, let's come up with what's important for our team. Here's what I think our ethos should be, but I want to hear from everybody in here. Get buy-in, right?
Right.
Why do you want buy-in? Because then they have skin in the game. They don't want it to fail. Right? So like when I ran a business plan, if I put my plan on the board and everybody work for me has to do my plan and it fails, they're like, see, I told you it wasn't going to work. That guy, blah, blah, blah. When I have my plan and I say, Corby, you tell me how we can make it better. And you go, well, I think we should do this, this. Now we have skin in the game. We're on this boat together. We're both rowing. So that's number one, is I get in alignment with my team. Here's my ethos. Here's our vision. Here's what I think is important. I want your feedback. And I create one. Number two, how are we going to make this a reality? which means how are we going to make it observable? Like, how do I make this ethos permeate our system to such a depth and breadth that if a stranger walked in off the street and observed us for a day, and I said, "What do you think we're about?" They would write it out. And
Right.
that's exactly what we're about. But they have to witness it. So, how do you witness something? It has to be tangible. Tangible stuff requires action. So, then the third step is I would then write action plans for how are we going to train into your life those particular value sets, those ethos, those attributes, those character developments, and not by words. Unless you think words build bench presses, you have to do the reps, right? Words are great. Give me all the knowledge you want, but I need to do the work. So what is the work for that? And and that's where like, hey, if you don't know how to do that, like I write those plans, I coach those plans, I teach those plans. I've been doing that on how I've built all my businesses for the last 20 years. So nothing new to me. And when we go to the high schools, we bring the same thing in there and say, hey, coach, let's put your P team under stress. Tell me what your etho is. Let's set that up. Let's get it entrenched. They're going to remember a bunch of Navy SEALs here. And we're not there to beat people down. That's you hear about the people in the news that do it wrong. It's more cerebral than anything else. It's not even a whole lot of actual physical movement, but we blow them up mentally and then rebuild them. But leave them with a plan that the coach can then like say, hey, this year we were about here and we're going to keep training. Just like every year I get stronger in the weight room, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, you would anticipate if somebody trained for 4 years, they would get stronger. Your culture will get stronger too if you train it. Your culture will be something you fight and struggle with if it's just words. So those are the three things I do. One, get everybody baked in on the same thing. Two, make the training plans. And three, actualize it and train and monitor it.
Cool deal, man. Hey, I really appreciate you. My brother from another mother.
Yeah,
And
man. Tell
what people
Bobby D, tell Bobby D next time you talk to him that he can get on our
can get
show.
on our
He
show.
ain't too big. Come on, Bobby Diaco. Like just because you're big ball now, you're on TV. Or let's get Slutty or Romo or some of those dudes on here. But
We'll get them
we'll have
on
fun.
here. So thanks, Derek. Appreciate it.